Soberinos, and welcome to this week's Friday Fix. This week, in fact, in the last few days, there have been some incredible successes in terms of people going out and socialising with family and friends for the first time sober. And it is amazing to read about these successes and to hear about all of your successes. So I want to take a moment to celebrate that, to celebrate the significance of that, and to celebrate your success. You are doing phenomenally well. Um, so congratulations, great work on all of these socializing sober firsts. This is wonderful work and it's wonderful to read about. And it prompted me to think about my own journey into socializing sober. And reading some of your stories made me think about the first time that I had gone to the pub with my boyfriend sober. In my drinking days, we used to go to the pub a lot. I used to get drunk a lot. In fact, every single time we went to the pub, I would get drunk. And it was a big deal for me to go to the pub for the first time and not drink alcohol. So I want to share with you that story, and I want to compare it with the kind of first time I want to compare the first time I went out to a pub sober with my relationship with alcohol now and how I do things when I'm socialising sober now, to show you the difference and to give you a tip on what needs to happen to get from the one to the other. So, my relationship with alcohol now is if I were to describe it a bit like a relationship with a partner or a friend, it's a very easy relationship. It's a very comfortable relationship. It's a very boundaried relationship. So we know our boundaries and we don't overstep them. It's a very confident and comfortable relationship. And how that looks in practice is that the boundary is I just don't drink alcohol. I drink alternatives instead of alcohol. So whether I'm at home, whether I'm in bars, whether I'm in pubs, whether it's just me on my own, whether it's me and another person, whether it's me and a group of people, the boundary for me in terms of my relationship with alcohol is I simply don't drink it. I drink something else instead. So I might drink, there's a range of different options depending where I am and what the context is. I quite often have a lime and soda, depending where I am and what kind of options they've got on offer. I might drink a tonic without the gin. Some bars and pubs are now offering non-alcoholic spirits. And so I might have a non-alcoholic spirit with a tonic for a bit more sophistication. I might drink a non-alcoholic lager. I might drink a herbal tea. I might just have a sparkling water. So I'm very, very clear about my relationship with alcohol. The boundary is I do not drink it. I drink something else instead. Simple. It's a really, really simple line. I just don't cross. What else can I say about my relationship with alcohol? Yeah, the boundary is that I don't drink it, but I can handle it. I can smell it. I can handle it as in physically handle it. I can pour drinks for other people. I can smell it. I can cook with it. I can be around other people drinking it. I'm very comfortable and confident with going into any social situation and simply drinking non-alcoholic alternatives. So it's a very simple, comfortable, confident relationship. However, it wasn't always that way. The first time I can't honestly remember the timing, so I quote these time scales and I'm never 100% sure that I'm right. But I think it was about 3 months in, 2 or 3 months in to me living my life sober. before I went to a local pub with my boyfriend. Now, we used to go to the pub regularly, sometimes on a Thursday night, sometimes on a Friday night, sometimes both, sometimes on a Saturday, and sometimes even on a Sunday. And whenever we went to the pub, I had a kind of routine. I would usually have a bottle of lager to start with, or a couple of bottles of lager, or maybe a couple of G&Ts as a kind of aperitif. Um, on the surface, that was about presenting a kind of sophisticated front to the world, having an aperitif as a starter before moving on to the main course, which was wine for me. And but inwardly, the real reason I was doing that was to get drunker quicker, was to mix my drinks so that I would start to feel an effect. A couple of bottles of lager would not satisfy me. So my routine was to go into the pub and order a bottle or two of lager or a G&T and then start on the wine. And I would have at least, I would have the large wine glasses. I would have at least one bottle of wine in the pub, if not two, before going home and having more. So that was the routine. And having that first drink would really loosen me up. It would give me that taste. It would burn down my throat and into my stomach. I would start to relax. That was my signal to relax. And I would do that and I'd become sociable, I would become relaxed, I would become uninhibited, and I would become happy, and all of these things. And I would become really chatty, and I would start to engage with people and kind of become the life and soul. For a short while, towards the end of my drinking days, that would probably last half an hour to an hour if I was lucky. And then what would happen after that initial kind of kick from the alcohol, I would just become slurry, self-conscious, really paying way too much headspace and attention to how I was saying my words, very conscious of how I was speaking and trying not to appear drunk. My whole energy when I was drinking was trying to make myself appear as if I wasn't drunk, and trying to make myself appear normal, and trying to make myself appear that I didn't have a problem. Honestly, the paranoia and self-consciousness that would rack me when I was drinking was phenomenal. So actually, the fun only lasted a very short period of time, and it was that initial kick, that initial hit, that initial high, in that first half an hour, maybe to an hour, before I would then end up really self-monitoring, and paying attention to what I was doing, what I was saying, how I was behaving, and so I just wasn't having any fun at all, and I certainly wasn't relaxed. But that was all I knew. That was my unconscious pattern. That was my unconscious programming. My habit was to get drunk. And so I didn't know what it was like to go into a bar with my boyfriend on a Friday evening and to not drink alcohol, to drink something different instead, and to actually kind of relax without the alcohol. That was unheard of for me. It was a new thing, and I was dreading it. Like I say, I think it was about 3 months in of me being sober before I kind of decided that I was confident enough to put myself in a really challenging situation, because this was a challenging situation for me. Um, and I'd spent most of that Friday afternoon, because we planned to go to the pub. I spent most of that Friday afternoon prior to my first pub visit absolutely dreading it, just dreading it, just thinking this was going to be a chore, this was going to be really hard work. I didn't know how I was going to handle it. I thought I was going to be the most boring person in the world. I thought I was going to be really stressed and tense. I thought I was going to be bored. I thought that I was going to find the whole evening really boring, that I was going to be really uncomfortable. But I did a lot of planning and preparation for this first trip to the pub. I planned what I was going to drink instead of alcohol. I was going to order a cup of peppermint tea. If they didn't serve peppermint tea, I was going to order a tonic. with ice and a slice to make me feel like I had something special to look forward to. And I also planned it that I had an escape route, and the escape route was that there was a program on TV that I wanted to get home for. So I knew um, we had about an hour to an hour and a half in the pub. It wasn't like I had to go there all evening and endure all evening um, being sober and uncomfortable. I only had a limited amount of time, and that made it more manageable for me. So I planned that I was going to get home to watch this program, and I also planned that we were going to have a meal there. So it gave the evening a focus, it gave the evening a purpose, rather than just sitting there being bored and not connecting, not communicating, not being the life and soul, and not having fun. And so I built it up, I guess, in my head into this big deal. Um, and the reality was, we got to this pub, and it was a bit like, I don't know if you've seen An American Werewolf in London. You know that moment where the two American guys walk into the Yorkshire pub and it falls absolutely silent and every head turns in their direction and the conversation just stops and it's really, really uncomfortable. That's how I felt when I went into the pub for the first time sober. And it was a different pub. We'd never been in there before. We were new to the pub, and there were a handful of locals in there, and the locals did stop. They did stop their conversations. They did turn their heads. They did look at us, and we walked to the bar. Um, I think Stuart ordered a pint of beer and I ordered a peppermint tea. And I kind of put on a front, I kind of put on an act of feeling comfortable, feeling confident, leaning against the bar. There were a couple of, you know, burly old local guys who were stood by the bar, and I kind of smiled at them and said hello. But it was all an act. I wasn't feeling confident at all. Um, I was feeling really nervous, but I put on a good show and I did my smiling at people. I pretended to be comfortable, ordered a peppermint tea. Now the barwoman was amazing. She served me, she treated me as if I'd ordered a bottle of their finest red wine. She asked me if I would like some cold water. Um, in fact, she provided me, when she came out with this peppermint tea, she brought it over to our table on a little tray, a lovely little tray. She presented it beautifully. She had a little jug of cold water for me to add to the tea, so that to make it drinkable. She provided me with a little saucer to put my tea bag on when it had steeped enough. And I think there was a teaspoon there as well. But she presented it beautifully, and it was in a lovely big mug. Um, and it was just, she treated me so well. And it was lovely. It was just lovely. Nobody batted an eyelid about me ordering a peppermint tea. All the self-consciousness that I felt about not ordering a proper drink evaporated straight away, because it just wasn't a big deal to anybody else. And this is the thing that you start to realize when you start ordering non-alcoholic drinks when you're out and about. Nobody else gives a Nobody else cares. Nobody bats an eyelid. It's only you that worries about it, that thinks about it, that gives it any energy, that feels self-conscious about it. Actually, the people around us don't care whether we're drinking or not. And if there are some people that do care, for whom it's a big deal that you're not drinking, I would suggest that that says more about them and their relationship with alcohol than it does about you. But in this particular instance, going to this pub with Stuart, we had our first meal out, our first Friday night at the pub with me not drinking. What happened was, within about 30 minutes of sitting down at the table, I'd lost all of that anxiety and I was actually connecting with Stuart in a way that I would never normally connect with him, because I would be connecting with the G&T, with the beer, with the wine, and all I'd be focusing on was getting drunker, was drinking more, and making sure that I always had a drink in my hand, and making sure that I had my next sip ready, and making sure that I was getting to the next level of drunkenness. that was what I would have been connecting with in the past. But here I was, sat in the pub with my peppermint tea, waiting for our meal to come over. And I was actually connecting with Stuart in a really authentic way. I was being myself. I was being interested in him and his week and his day. I was asking him questions. We were engaging with one another on a much more meaningful and authentic way. So I relaxed completely. And halfway through the evening-ish, I noticed that I had really begun to relax and unwind, and that there was an element of playfulness, there was an element of jokiness about me, that I took myself by surprise, because I realized that I was able to be funny, I was able to be jokey, I was able to be playful and mischievous without the alcohol. Who would have ever thunk it? That this was possible for me. I had honestly believed that I was going to sit there like a block of stone, being really boring and being really bored. And actually, the reality was that I came away from that evening feeling amazing, feeling on such a high, because I had done it. I had enjoyed an evening out at the pub sober. And I'd done all the right things in advance. Obviously, like I say, it had taken some preparation. I'd chosen the pub very deliberately because it was local, because it wasn't too far from home. So I wouldn't have any of the anxiety of going too far afield. But I also chose a pub that I didn't normally go to, that I didn't know. So it wouldn't have all of those old drinking associations. Um, so I was quite careful about how I planned it, and I also had made sure that I mentally rehearsed, that I imagined myself in advance of going to the pub. I imagined myself going into the bar, ordering my peppermint tea, how I was going to stand, how I was going to feel, what I was going to smell, what I was going to taste. I really immersed myself into that experience prior to doing it. So I'd already set myself up for success mentally. And that's a really important thing to do when you're doing these things for the first time. And so it was fantastic. It was amazing. And I came away on such a high. And of course, what I then did after that initial experience of going to the pub sober was that I then practiced it some more. And each time I did it, it became easier, because I already knew I could do it, because I'd done it before. And the more times I did it, the easier it became. And eventually I started going to some of the pubs and some of the venues that I used to go to when I was drinking, because I'd grown in confidence and I knew I could handle the challenge. So A is my first time going to the pub and doing it sober, and B is my relationship with alcohol now, and the fact that I can go anywhere. I can get invited to gigs, I can get invited to parties, I can get invited to family meals, social occasions. It doesn't matter whether it's a wedding, a barbecue, a big event, a small event. Nothing in my mind goes to alcohol. It's not even a thought. There's nothing. I don't even think about it. It is simply that, oh, I'm going to a party. Oh, I'm going to a barbecue. Oh, I'm going to see these people. Oh, I'm going to chat to these people. And the thrill of it comes from the event itself and the people I'm going to be talking to, rather than thinking about the alcohol and looking forward to getting drunk. It's totally transformed. And how you get from that A to the B, how you get from, I thought I'd done it wrong there, how you get from the A to the B, the first tentative anxiety producing times that you do these outings, these socializing sober events, that's the A. The B is the confident, comfortable, doing it without thinking, doing it on automatic and not even giving alcohol a second thought, and being so confident that you don't have to give it any energy. How you get from the A to the B is practice. It's having the focus, it's having the determination and the sense of purpose to keep repeating these outings, these events, and to keep practicing them sober. And you don't have to make these repetitions and these practices overwhelming. They can be short bursts. They can be manageable, achievable, short bursts of doing things. You can give yourself 10 minutes in a pub. You can give yourself 20 minutes or half an hour joining a party, excuse me, or a group of people. You can make it manageable for you. But the important bit is that you practice and you repeat. The more you practice, the more you repeat, the easier it becomes. And you keep that focus, you keep that determination up by maintaining your motivation levels, keeping your motivation levels up at a high level. And if you want to know more about how to keep your motivations up at a high level, you go to gogetsober.com and you sign up for the Go Get Sober Guidance Program. And in Module 1 of the Go Get Sober Guidance Program online, you will find a whole stack of steps, activities, and resources all about how to keep your motivation levels up high. And in doing that, what you are doing is you are giving yourself the strength, the focus, the purpose, the determination to be able to keep on practicing, to be able to keep on repeating, even through moments of challenge, even through moments of emotional difficulty, even through moments of stress, even through triggering moments. By using the motivational tools and techniques and strategies to keep those levels of motivation up high, to keep your why, your reason for doing this right in front of you, to keep yourself motivated, you are giving yourself the best chance of success. You're enabling yourself to keep going, to keep repeating, and to keep practicing, because practice, folks, is what makes you successful. It's like learning any new skill. It's like learning to play a musical instrument, learning a new language, doing some kind of study, learning to dance, anything at all. Learning any new skill takes practice and it takes repetition. And in order to be able to keep practicing and keep repeating, you need focus and you need commitment. And your focus and your commitment comes from your motivation. It's your motivation that keeps you going through all those tricky periods. So that's it from me for today. I will look forward to catching up with you in tomorrow's Saturday Share in the Facebook group if you're not watching this there already. But in the meantime, let's go get sober together. Bye for now.